Hello, tech heads. Welcome to another episode of Lunch Tech and Chat. Will and I had a lot of things to talk about. We've been promising conversations, but GPT-5 got released this morning, so that's
Yeah,
what we're gonna be talking about
yeah.
today.
It's a little bit like our version of like the everything is happening normally in the world, and then there's the Iranian war with Israel that actually hits. Everybody kind of like pauses everything that they're talking about, and it's like just let's just focus on that, and then we'll come back actually to some of the other stuff that we've been talking about in the last few episodes.
Right.
So
So we
what's
had
new?
Grok.
What's new
Yeah,
today? Yeah.
we had Grok 4. Grok 4 was the king of, the neighborhood, walking around, everyone talking about Grok 4 and all the cool stuff that Elon Musk has been releasing. And there was a big expectation of when GPT-5 was going to be released. Some people already knew that was coming at this time. Summer has been talking about the end of the US summer, and it got released yesterday or today in New Zealand, 5 a.m. in the morning. I spent my whole morning playing with it. I think it's really awesome how it works. It it makes it easier for you to select the model. Now you only have two options, which is like the main option of GPT-5 and another GPT-5 with enhanced thinking.
Mhm.
And pretty much all those options of models they had, all three or four, one all mini, one for mini high, and etc. etc. It's all gone. So it's one model that the model knows when it needs to do more thinking. So the model makes the decision of how it's going to run. It's pretty cool how it works. It's a lot faster.
Let's roll back a little bit, like getting back to the basics in terms of how it works. What are the, I guess, the key features, the key implementations of the model, if you want to kind of like to, I guess, to do that in comparison to the existing, GPT models that are out there.
Yeah. So it is simpler. It's one model to rule them all, let's say. So it's simpler. So you just use one model and you can do anything outside of that model. It integrates with all the tools that OpenAI already had. So even if you're using, for example, agent modes are a lot smarter now.
Mm.
The model is smarter, the model is sharper. If you look at all the testings and the comparisons, it's good at maps. On the last human text test or whatever they call it, it's the highest score. So in all the benchmarks, it's ahead everyone else. I'll open the benchmarks and I can talk about it, but just carrying on. Um, so it's simpler, it's cheaper if using via API is a lot cheaper to use now, which is interesting because it's one model that can, do a lot of reasoning if it thinks it needs.
Yeah.
It's a lot powerful and is a lot cheaper. So
Right.
they managed to achieve that somehow. The hallucination, it's a lot smaller, so it's a lot more factual, it's
Mm.
sharp. Um, and yeah, I just feel like when you're talking to the model, it feels like more like a human interaction, but
Mm.
it's more direct to you and sort of asks you like, okay, so you want to know about this, this, and that. Do you want me to rephrase it in a different way?
Right.
You want me to explain it in a better way that it talks more to you, feels more natural? Does that make sense?
Does it feel a little bit more like self-reflective in a way, kind of like trying to understand or paraphrase what is it that you're trying, the intent of what you want it to achieve, and then trying to say, is this intent read correctly, and therefore kind of moves forward? Is that what you're saying?
Um, I think in some scenarios, yes. For example, one of the scenarios that I was trying to run was to create a game similar to Doom, like the old Doom game. And as I was going through it, it did ask me a lot of questions back, which is something that GPT doesn't usually do that.
Yeah.
GPT did when you start running it,
Yeah.
but GPT didn't do that. So now I felt like there was more interaction before actually spitting out an answer, which was quite cool.
Mm. And did you maybe? Oh, I'll make another promise for people. So maybe in a future episode we can do a demo of your Doom's game, just making a
Not
promise
running
like a
yet. I'm
dive.
still making changes, but I would love to.
We can actually do a mini demo of it, so actually people get the value straight out of them out of the bat. So the okay, so what it feels to me like from what you're saying, and I need to play a little bit myself this week was just like crazy. Is that it actually spends more time doing the orchestration of the tooling under the hood so that you can have the experience of the different reasoning and non-reasoning models and mathematics, etc. Except that is in like it's in a combined kind of like platform or like model.
Yeah. I
Um,
think from a user experience is just simplifying how you interact with the GPT LLM. Like
yeah,
it's simpler. It makes it simpler for the user, like not knowing which tool, which model, what do I need to do. Like it's just a bit more interactive. It's simplified. Even like on the prompts, if your prompt is not that clear, you can get to the outcome. At least in some of the tests that I did this morning,
yeah,
which are the other LLMs would just like create some fake information or some very high hallucination. Like I feel like it tries to nail what you're trying to do.
yeah.
And
Then
I've got the benchmarks in front
and
of me, so when you want, we can go through it.
awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I have like a ton of questions as well in terms of how the model kind of like manages both that, I guess, the 4.0 type of like the most generalistic model that previously being was using when I just wanted like some generic stuff, versus uh, the more like reasoning advanced and coding focus like the three or not like the four meaning kind of like generation. I think I'm very curious, and I'll be playing a little bit myself in terms of how to kind of, for example, like use agent mode while I can do something that is a little bit more generic and reasoning at the same time. The same thing for the, I guess, for study activity where I can like do things like where I'm studying about something and I actually ask the model as well to provide me um, something that you see a lot in white papers, like in computer science university, where you do like a paper with code type of thing. I don't know if it's something that you've seen before.
Yeah, and you can use study mode to help on a lot of that as well.
Yeah, in how actually that can like integrate and potentially even execute. I think that would be really powerful if we could combine things like agent mode and studying. Because if you actually are studying something, for example, if it's a computer science subject or engineering of some sort, and you're actually studying something and then you actually ask on the same kind of flow, can you please execute this? So actually I can see how it plays out. Um, for me, that would be crazy, but I because they're separating, at least up until recently, they are separating those different modes, the agent mode the um, from the study mode. I'm not sure if that's possible, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's still separate.
yeah.
As tools, it's still separate.
Okay,
So
go.
just talking a little bit about benchmarking. So there's the AIME competition in maps. So if you look at the old models like the GPT-4 using Python or the code, how is it called? The code mode, the one that can execute Python, you would get around 42% of accuracy.
That's not
The
bad.
latest models, which was like all 3 Pro, would get around 98 with code mode enabled. So you see from 42 to 98.
It's
And
huge.
GPT-5 Pro now with Python turned on, you can get 100% accuracy.
100% accuracy. That's pretty cool.
100% accuracy.
So that's
And that's
better.
in the
Than
AMA maps.
that's better than any developer that ever existed or like top 100 developers globally. essentially.
Yeah,
With
this is only math. So this is for maths calculation.
right, okay, okay, but it's still better than any kid that actually is doing, high school and calculus competitions actually at university level. That's fucking crazy.
There's another benchmark that is highly used, which is called the Frontier Maths Tier 1 to 3, which is like expert level maths.
Yeah,
Humans get really, really low rates. And it was already impressive that OpenAI O3 Pro, which was the latest model, like the best one before GPT-5 from OpenAI, could get around 15 to 16% accuracy.
yeah,
And now with GPT-5 Pro, you get 32% accuracy. So it has more than doubled.
right,
So
okay.
you see that these models are becoming freaking professionals in maths. So that old conversation of LLMs are not good at maths, that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, 32 is still low. The
Well,
sec,
but
the
humans
second,
get
right.
less than 10%.
Yes, okay, okay.
So I'll give you an example. So another maps one, and I was looking at maps because a lot of the stuff for professional services has been avoided on LLM using maps because of the accuracy.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another one. This is a really important one. So there's one called HMMT, which
Mhm.
is called the Harvard MIT Mathematics Tournament.
Yeah.
This is like one of the toughest mathematics tournaments that exists.
Yeah.
So all three used to get an around 93% accuracy with code turned on. GPT-5 Pro now 100%.
Fuck. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
The other one that I took was one that is called GPQA Diamond, which is PhD level science questions. GPT-4o used to get around 70%, O3 around 83%, and now GPT-5 Pro you can get 90%.
That's yeah. It's huge. It's a significant improvement. Yeah. So it's not only like the engineering orchestration thing, it's also optimization of the model that is actually happening at the back of it.
So we are getting into a new era. We were already, but with GPT-5, I think, that whole LLMs being used for like medical and biologics and stuff like that, I think will increase a lot because those models are now smarter than a PhD. So it's just, yeah. Um, that humanity's last exam, which like normal humans get around 2%, GPT-4o used to get around 5%. GPT-03 was around 24%. Um, Using the agent with browser, computer, and terminal turned on, you could get around 41%. So researching and answering the questions.
Yeah.
And now so just remember, the smartest human gets around 2% of this exam. So now GPT-5 gets 42%.
Wow. That's huge. That's really huge. Okay, so if we kind of like I guess move from the model to the applications of this sort of kind of like improvements. So what is it that we're thinking about in terms of like I guess industries, use cases where there's a significant uplift from the model itself?
Yeah. So if we look at the actual cost of the model, and I'll touch on that because it makes sense on what I'm gonna say. So GPT-4o, the input, I'm not gonna go through input, cached input and output, but just the input was around $2.50 per million tokens.
Yep.
GPT-5, which is a lot more powerful than 4o, it's half of the price, is $1.25. So what that means is everyone is being able now to get a model that is I don't know, like I don't have the statistics. I'm just gonna guess here, but like 5 times better than 4.0, paying half of the price, right? And
Yeah.
there are variations of the model. You can get the mini, you can get the nano, so you paying less and you have like quicker answers and like you had the
Mm.
minis and that's only on the API, not the front end.
Yeah.
But why am I saying that? This model now, it's one model with everything. So you don't need to choose the model anymore.
Right. Which
And
is
I
great.
think
Which is great.
applicability wise, we will have to experiment to see what are the boundaries, if there are boundaries, what are the boundaries of this LLM. But essentially, what I'm saying is a new area starting from today where you can experiment anything that you can think of using AI, chucking into the model and seeing if it works.
Into one single model. Yeah.
It's a lot smarter. It's one model. It's faster. It's cheaper. So it's one place to go. Like you don't have to think about it anymore. Chuck it into the model and see how it resolves. So that will make it easier, for the whole sustainability, for healthcare, for anything that you can think of that we can use AI today is just the next level of evolution on how those LLMs are getting smarter. That's pretty much what it is.
And just full disclaimer for anybody that is actually listening to this, we are not paid by OpenAI. We are just
No,
users,
we're not.
right? So this is not a PR or marketing stunt of any sort. It's just us being excited by the magic of technology. That's all that it is. So it's just like and being and being users of it. Okay, so if we go a little bit deeper into the kind of like application use cases, it I mean things are evolving. Humans have their own ingenuity, which I still think actually AI doesn't solve for it. um what are we talking about here? Like what sort of kind of like specific cases, if you take like the medical sciences for example, that we can really start now deploying things into production using some of those models. Do you have anything kind of like off the top of your head?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing, Will, is the claims, and I'm gonna say claims because this model just got released today, so we don't have enough factual informations apart from what I read this morning and what I played with the model, which was like, I don't know, 3 hours. So 3 hours of experience in the model, right? But what I'm saying is, if it's proven that this model is very factual and will have less hallucination, creating data like, you can sort of control its creativity to uh, be accurate and factual and effective,
Mm,
getting to a new era where you can remove humans in the loop for some things,
mm,
meaning if you're doing something like in medic like
mm,
healthcare, medical science, you can trust a lot more what the AI will be creating, streamlining processes, or even helping to solve, you know, um, difficult problems. So
mm,
I think the new use cases will be things that human have had limitations on, like discovering the cure for cancer or shit like that. Because you now have a model, like, and I'm assuming here, but we now have a model that it won't lie to us because it's factual. And if that's true, the data that is outputting is real data that can be used as factual. Because the problem with old models is if you don't understand, if it's not your domain of expertise,
yeah, you
you
can
can't validate the output. So
100%.
if you're trying to solve a tough problem, if you can't solve that problem, it's very likely that you can't even, well, you might be able to understand what the output is, but I don't know if you will be able to get to the whole logic that it got to that answer. And what I'm trying to say is, imagine, for example, I'm a scientist. I'm trying to find the cure for one specific type of cancer.
Mm,
And I give it a lot of data to the LLM, and the LLM will say, oh, yeah, try this, try that, and then you're gonna have to do a lot of research to make sure that whatever the LLM is saying to you is true. If it's not my area of domain, of course, I'm probably not even gonna know where to start. So how can you trust the LLM? And that's the problem that we had before. If it's
100%.
not not your area of expertise, LLMs are not gonna add you a lot of value. They can help you, but they're not gonna add the value because you need to know that topic, that subject.
Yeah, it gets up to a certain point, and then from that point, you still kind of like still get actually people sometimes kind of in the domain, my domain of expertise, which is particularly financial engineering in Web3. Like I still get people kind of like, I had one yesterday, kind of like, oh, I've done a whole bunch of research and all that kind of stuff, and then actually kind of like, and then it comes in and at that point was like, oh, this is what I'm going for. Can you please confirm that I'm going the right direction? And I'm kind of like, oh, okay, this feels like, you know, high value request for confirmation for free consulting. And I essentially told the person, fuck off, fuck off, no,
Ah,
fuck
you
off, no,
know.
no free consulting today. So it was like, and I can see that happens with humans, right? Quite a bit, kind of like where they're going through certain kind of like curve, and then at that point, at some point, if they're not domain experts in a particular area, they kind of they need that kind of validation. Is this going anywhere close to where I want it to go? But by the sounds of what you're saying, it kind of like goes potentially past that point where,
Beyond that.
yeah,
And I think that's the thing, like, is the next level of disruption. It's probably not perfect, I would think. We probably need more time with it to see how accurate it is. But imagine if the accuracy is so big that you feel like is the next level of having the actual experts with you on a topic that you don't master, like the LLM is adding those superpowers to you. And I think that's the next level of disruption if it proves to be true.
yeah. Well, yeah. I guess that's the part that I think it probably we need to test the boundaries of it. Like one boundary, which maybe we should be testing rather on rats than on humans, but let's assume here that's what we want to do with the medical sciences, for example, where you see, full-fledged kind of like founders and entrepreneurs that absolutely have no medical or no, um, I guess even, health background, actually implementing solutions that actually work and don't fuck up too bad. I think that would be the test, right? So
Uh,
that would be the test. It's like, okay, very good, that actually passes all of these mathematics exams and all
I
that.
mean,
And
it's
I
cool
just,
if it generates an output and you just go and do like tests to prove that that's true
yeah,
instead of having to um, fact review everything that has been created or something like
yeah.
that.
Maybe this would be actually something to almost like as a thought experiment here to for universities themselves actually to act as sort of like incubators for that kind of stuff, where they invite, for example, um, students from known medical background, um, students that are coming, like, I don't know, from from business administration or from entrepreneurship and innovation and things like this, and actually they test it out creating startups with no one that has that background, and then they some kind of like a group of validators, if you will, that are more like people that come from the health sector or medical sciences that actually come in and say, yep, actually what's outputting is pretty good. um that would be I guess a test experiment in a lab, rather than actually let's test with real humans, give people high stakes kind of like outputs, where like, actually you have a cancer, go
Yeah,
go get some chemo, right, kind of thing, like
yeah,
it's
yeah. Stop talking to GPT and go to the doctor.
exactly. Take your car right now and actually go straight to the doctor, because you're already on a stage 4 cancer. I mean, that kind of stuff, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
I think that's the I think
not
that's
yet.
the high
We're not
high
there yet.
stakes high
Maybe in
stakes
the future you ask the robot solve your problem, but not
Yeah,
yet.
it's a high stakes poker type of game. It's, I think, the ultimate test. But if you can actually, I think if your universities, even like through I think some of the connections like Anthropic and the like, they can kind of like do that kind of stuff, which I think they are quite embedded into the university, in academia, kind of like change the role of university towards something a little bit more like that, then it could be a nice lab type of experiment. Anyways, if there is any academics actually that, by the way, that listen to us, feel free. I think it would be super, super interesting, even to interview someone that is actually working within, an MIT and a Harvard or any of those universities to that are being, running some of those tests to see if anything that me and Andre here we talk about every now and again, it's complete bullshit or makes actually any sense. So yeah. Anyways, this
Cool. I don't need to
this is
go.
cool. This is cool. Yeah. Great chat today. Yeah, Andre. Let's keep this going. Next time we're gonna go back to the promises that we've made in previous podcasts. Not so much as disrupting ourselves, and go from there.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Will. Leave in the comments what you want us to talk about, and I'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Yes.